How did you manage to leave a strict Arab family and live on your own? I'm starting to lose hope. I'm 21F and I come from an Arab Muslim family that's not extremely strict in the traditional sense, but they expect me to stay home all the time, live quietly, and eventually marry someone they approve of, someone just as strict and conservative as they are. I feel like I'm slowly losing my life. I'm scared of waking up in a few years having done nothing for myself, having wasted my youth trying to please people who will never be satisfied unless I become someone I'm not. Right now, I'm trying to find a way out by studying medicine. It's the only acceptable reason they would let me live in another city. But the pressure is overwhelming. I'm currently doing another degree and I have no money. I'm completely burned out, mentally and emotionally exhausted. I'm going to start a summer job in August, and I plan to use that money to pay for therapy, because I genuinely don't think I can keep going like this much longer. I'll currently finish this degree in November, and I'll try to immediately start studying for medicine. If you come from a similar background and manage to break free, how did you do it? How did you become independent both emotionally and financially? How did you keep going when everything felt so hopeless? If anyone wants to stay in touch or offer advice, I'd be so grateful. And if you have a story that can give me hope, please share it. I've lost mine. The dude, eventually, abides. Hey party people, it's your boy Troy. Nah, JK was trying a thing it sounded awkward moving on. I'm working in the deli in Scottsdale, Arizona, where the customers are weird and the employees are non-existent. It's a busy day because of this fact. A customer comes up with his hands on his hips like Superman. You know that way that customers try to let you know they've been waiting a long, any amount of time? Some do the, I'm a little teapot with one hand on hip, some find their arms. Not this guy. He acts like he walked into the second hand of a Hims commercial minus the smile. I eventually get to him among the sea of tasks and other customers on the other side of the deli, slicers, and he huffs. Why do you only have 3 spicy strips left? You guys ain't prepared at all. And he puffs. How are you the only person here? Which was more accusatory than the remorseful or showing pity, etc. And he just about blows my patience in when I realize that by the time I've rung up / weighed out his chicken strips that I hit the wrong tear weight, significantly affecting the price. In figu up red. Oh well, I'm only losing $4. I'd pay twice as much to have this transaction over. Before I can say anything, Shirley Temple, sassy Superman, literally spits out, "That's the wrong price, dude. How about you reweigh it the right way? You got it." Enter MC. I knew full well that when I reweighed it and properly did the correct rare weight, it was going to be a bigger price. I accidentally hit 0.4 for rare weight, not 0.005. It made the chicken $7 more by the time the tag printed out. He was not happy. What the hell, the price was $5.99 on sale, and you had it at $7, there's no way, no fucking way. I explained to him that I originally did make a mistake, but I accidentally hit a large tear weight that made your chicken significantly cheaper, but this is the correct sale price now. Sorry for the mix-up. He crumpled back into the sea of demanding customers who all seemed fairly entertained. Who am I kidding? Half the people didn't even notice. But for me, it was a great moment in an otherwise brutal day so far. Would you like to add the device to your home? Sure. About 5 years ago, I was in a place that shared a wall with a neighbor who would play music loud after 11 p.m., have loud arguments with friends, let his dog crap on the patch of grass outside my path, park his car in the visitor bay so nobody else could park close by, etc. Total jerk. You get the idea. I'd asked him many times to keep the noise down, but he'd reply, "Everyone is noisy round here, chill." One day I was turning on my smart light in my lounge when the app came up with a notification. New device detected. Fancy brand portable aircon unit. Would you like to add the device to your home? Well, bearing in mind my lounge is right next to his, there's only one asshole neighbor this device belongs to. So I clicked yes. No further questions. I apparently now have full access to this asshole's aircon unit. Catching. So I plotted my revenge. At the time, I was getting up for work at 3 a.m. Asshole had gone to sleep at 1 a.m. I think 3 a.m. is the perfect time to set it to full blast 16C cool air, 61F. By the time I got to work at 6 a.m., I'd noticed it was back in quiet mode. What a shame. Set back into full blast 16C, as noisy as possible. I kept this up for about 2 weeks. Shortly after, I noticed an ad up on our neighborhood Facebook group for a faulty aircon unit, collect for free outside my next door's address. It would be rude not to take it. Although I still endure occasionally noisy evenings, my nights have been so much cooler recently. You gave me the wrong food? I will throw up all over your golden throne. I will start by saying this happened when I was 16, so about 15 years ago. I cannot eat red meat, pork, fish, or melons. Nothing to do with the religion, but I get really bad stomachache from eating those, and with meat, I will start throwing up violently pretty much straight away. Everyone in my family and friend circle knows it, as that's something that has been happening since I was a toddler. I am fine with bird meat and seafood. Now I have a friend who comes from a very wealthy family. I'll call her Anna. We were celebrating her 15th birthday, and because of this, her dad was having a BBQ over at his new house. Bear in mind, I know Anna and her family since Anna was 9, and when she was 14, she was practically living with me and my family, as we went to the same school and were into same hobbies, and her family would also come round for food, BBQs, every other weekend with my family, basically adults drinking and having fun, so they are perfectly aware of what I can and can't eat. Their new house is about 1.5 hours drive from my parents' house, as it is located out of the city and is by the lake. Before the BBQ started, Anna's dad showed the house as he helped to build it, and he was really proud of the golden throne he has in one of the bathrooms. It is a toilet that is stylized as a golden throne. I do not know if it was actually golden or not. I was 16 and had no idea of a difference. He has specified how we shouldn't use it or play with it, as it cost a lot of money and is basically his toy. The throne is downstairs and is in the closest bathroom to the outside. There is another one, but it is significantly further away and you have to go through some other rooms to get to it. Now, as we were all underage, he was cooking the meat for the BBQ. He put some white meat in front of my plate, which I assumed was chicken since I've only tried pork as a toddler and never had it after my reaction to it, so I have no idea how it tastes or looks like. Upon tasting it, I have mentioned it tastes weird and the texture is weird, but I was assured by him that it is chicken. Halfway through, my stomach starts to hurt like hell, and I can finally click that something is wrong, as it wouldn't react this way to chicken. At the same time noticing my reaction, the father admits it was pork. I get up and start running through the doors as I feel I am about to throw up, and of course end up in the bathroom with the throne, where I continue to be violently sick. My friend runs after me, followed by her dad. Her dad is clearly not happy about me destroying his throne, so he is starting to tell me off. I of course don't hear him, as I am still sick. My friend has a full-on go at her dad, saying he shouldn't have fed me pork. Her dad tries to brush it off, saying he thought I was just picky, as that's what Anna told him. I managed to just half say asking for my parents to pick me up as my stomach hurts, before getting into another passionate hug with the golden throne. It took my parents about an hour to get to me. They were doing some shopping in IKEA nearby, and my dad might have broken a few speed limit laws. And all this time I was occupying the bathroom. My mother was furious and was in full-on attack mode on my friend's dad, calling him all sorts of names and saying how dangerous it is, as I might end up in the hospital and will have a few miserable days ahead of me. The dad was trying to say I am fine now, but just before getting into the car I felt another wave coming, and since I was not expecting it, I threw up all over him. My mom laughed it, but also turned to Anna and said she won't feel comfortable with letting me staying with her or celebrating anything with Anna's dad around due to what happened, and she also doesn't think I would want to once I am older. This made Anna upset, as it was her birthday, so she ended up having a go at her dad as well. I haven't been around their place since. I did spend a few days in bed with stomach pain and had a doctor's visit to make sure I am not totally fucked with Anna's dad footing the bill for the out-of-hours call-out. We don't live in the US, so it was about $50–70 price-wise. Me and Anna ended up falling apart a few years after, as she started to feel I was responsible for ruining her birthday and tried to plot pointless revenge schemes. I love seeing myself naked. For context, I'm a 20-year-old guy. Whenever I get the chance, I drop my pants and admire myself in the mirror. This could be at home, in a bathroom at a friend's house, a public bathroom if it's empty, or even a change room. I'm straight, but there's something about seeing my flaccid that just feels so right and fills me with confidence. I'm endowed and hang well, but I don't know if that matters. I could not care less for other dudes, but I love seeing my own cock. It's become sort of a thing I just do without thinking now. First thing I do when going into a bathroom is drop my shorts and check myself out in the mirror. If I'm feeling down, it turns my mood right around. I don't think this is something narcissistic or the like, as it's just between me and myself. I don't go around parading myself. Won't let your soldier overseas. Enjoy the paperwork. I heard this story from my great-granddad. I'll call him Alan from now on, as that's his name, and I don't want to repeat great-granddad, from when he was in the army back in the 60s. Now, on one of the first days after everyone got settled in, the army had to assign where everyone was going, as in what part of the country each soldier was going to. Now, before giving each one their assigned places, the sergeants asked if anyone wanted to go overseas to serve over there, and out of the 20 people there, 4 people put their hands up, to which the sergeant explained what form to get and what to fill out to explain they wanted to go overseas. Somehow, out of that 20, instead of 4 going overseas, 16 went. But Alan wasn't one of them, so he went up to his commander to ask why he wasn't going overseas despite him filling out the form, to which the commander replied with something of Alan not being on the list to being overseas and trying to dismiss him. Basically, translated from army talk is, I don't know and don't care, now fuck off. So after hearing this, Alan was upset. So he went into the building that handles all the forms. Luckily, the receptionist knew Alan and was happy to see him. But when he learnt what happened with the overseas form, the receptionist gave him some valuable information that was, word for word, it's your given right to send as many forms as you like without getting written up. With this newfound knowledge, Alan grabbed a new form, filled it out and sent it up the chain of command, and when it came back to him it read, denied. So Alan went back, filled out another form, and set it up again. After some time of the back and forward of filling out the forms and getting denied, he was called into the commander's office, where Alan was promptly chewed out for making all these forms despite them getting denied, and how Alan has been wasting the commander's time as these were forms that had to be properly viewed, where it took some time to overlook it, and stopping him from going over important documents and files, and the commander said that if one more form came onto his desk, Alan would be written up, and, insert threat here that you'd expect from the army. Upset, Alan walked out of the office. Thinking about what he could do, he had a realization that he can't be written up for making these forms as it was his right to do so he headed straight to the building to get the form, filled it out again, and set it off. The next day, he was called in again. A little nervous but determined, he went into the office, where he saw the commander, clearly unimpressed, upset and angry, holding up the form saying, if I accept this, will you stop sending all of these forms? Where Alan quickly replied yes, to which the commander slams the stamp with a big green word, accept edit. Turns out Alan, my great-granddad, is well into his 90s, so this story is more like in the late 40s/early 50s. I didn't know how old he was before, so I had to shoot in the dark of when this story took place, so hopefully this'll correct the timeline of whatever the army did back then. I've been in love with my best friend for a long time, and I didn't even realize. So I've, 18F, known my best friend, also 18F, almost my whole life, since pre-K. We go to the same school. We didn't become best friends until 8th grade, but I always thought she was interesting. She's this super shy girl, but when me and her are together, she comes out of her shell. But we do fight a lot, and she's kind of a jealous type. She also has BPD. She gets upset at me a lot, BC. She thinks I'm mad at her for the smallest thing, or I'm going to replace her. She'd never had the best self-esteem. And we had a similar small fight a couple days ago, and I was telling her that I think about her so much, I could never replace her. I think about her so much I thought at one point I might like her. And then she said, well, do you? And that turned into a conversation I was not expecting. Turns out she likes me like that. But I just broke up with my GF of 2 years, and also she was in denial of being bi. I think we fought so much because she was crushing on me but didn't know how to express it, and I was deep in denial like, oh, we're just besties. And now I'm realizing all the I love yous over the past few years might have not been completely platonic. I think I've been in love with her too for maybe at least a year or two, but I'm just so goddamn oblivious. This is so hard to think about, but I needed to get it off my chest. She'd coming to my graduation party Saturday, so we're going to try kissing and go from there, IG. Don't touch that valve! Okay. Sorry in advance, this may be a little long. Also sorry for any punctuation errors. English is my first language, lol. Back in the early 2000s, I was a concrete mixer driver. Mostly I drove a front mixer, which means the high end of the barrel and the opening is in the front, because the driver has so much control over the concrete pouring operation. While I pour, I can start a stop, control the flow. I sit rather high so I can better see the job site. I can also easily move the truck while pouring, and I can hydraulically move the chute left-right, up/down. So, they are more desired. Mostly because the crew receiving the load can use less people than with a cheaper rear truck. Keep in mind the concrete load is batched in the plant and loaded in the truck straight away for delivery. As the ingredients start to harden, the mix heats up. The longer the mix is in the truck, the more the concrete heats up and starts to set. 2 ways to slow this down is to slow the rotation to the slowest speed, reducing friction, and add water to cool the load. Typically, you want to pour the load within an hour of being batched. One day I poured a job and ended up with about 4 cubic yards of concrete left over. Normally I would take this back to the yard and pour it in large block forms to make large 1 cubic yard interlocking blocks to be sold for retaining walls. However, this day there was a contractor close by where I was that needed a little more concrete to finish a basement floor in a new construction home. Great, thanks, dispatch. We have a truck not too far away from you with extra concrete that we will sell you at a discount. Contractor agrees because it saves him money, and he does not have to wait. So, I head there. Once on site, I set up really quick, check my load, and add water as needed to get a good flow. I pour for a little bit, and the contractor asks for more water. Here's the thing. My load is over 2 hours old right now, and it is heating up fast. It needs more water, more often, to remain fluid. The water evaporates out quickly and the concrete gets thicker. Each of our trucks carry 300 gallons of water used for the concrete and cleaning the truck when done. Under the water tank there is a main shut-off valve. Below that is a pipe that runs to the cab, with another valve, then up to the barrel to water the load. 2 more valves for the upper and lower water hoses, and 1 more for a drain to the ground. All these, except for the barrel valve, are located outside the truck behind the cab. The contractor gets angry that I have to stop often to add water. Remember, the load is old by concrete standards. As a concrete contractor, he should know that. He comes up to me and says, "Open the barrel valve and add water." Nowhere near that nice. Then he says, "Do not touch that valve again. Leave it open and I will control the water." Again, nowhere near that nice. Now mix that up and start pouring. What he is doing is shutting off the main valve from the outside when he decides there is enough water. Malicious compliance. He comes out 2 more times and adds water. Finally, as they get close to being done, some of the extra guys on the crew come up, open the main valve, grab my hose and start washing their tools. Because they opened the main valve, they are also adding water to the barrel. Now I am not to touch the barrel valve, so I don't. I don't say a word. I don't touch the valve. The barrel line dumps 1 gallon of water per second. Just over a minute later, about 70 gallons of water rush down the chute and in the basement. The contractor comes out of the basement screaming, comes up to me and he says, "What is your problem?" I said, "I don't have a problem. The problem is you thought you could do my job and yours and you can't. Now you have a problem." As I finished cleaning the truck, he was calling every number for my company to complain. When I got back to the yard, the plant manager wanted to know what happened. After I explained the situation, I found out the company as a whole has had an issue with this contractor. I never heard anything about it, nor did I ever see that contractor again. Mow your lawn wet? Okay, enjoy the look when it dries. I had a pretty successful lawn mowing hustle in high school, with enough regulars to have a decent income. Sometimes it just rains every inconvenient day, and lawns get longer and longer. Most customers understood that they needed to be patient and wait until it's dry enough to mow, but not this one guy. He was on the cutting edge of impatience, and in a moment of dullness, he insisted I come and deal with this because it was too long, even though it had continued to rain even on the same day. I told him, this is not going to go well, but he insisted, So I got out there and did the best I could, with wet, soggy grass clumping up all over the place. If you know anything about this, you know that mowing thick, wet grass with a push mower tends to just lay the grass over and not really cut it. So you can imagine what it looked like after 2 dry days. The house was on a busy corner of the neighborhood, so until I could get to a week later, it looked like a troop of drunken monkeys had attacked his lawn with scissors. It looked much worse than if he'd just waited until it was dry. The only thing I felt bad about was that everyone knew that was my work, so I made sure to make it look super nice as soon as I could do it properly. When the metric becomes the target, a cautionary tale on being careful what you measure. This happened about 8 years ago, when I was still working for a North American Class 1 railroad. I worked in IT, specifically in a department whose primary role was to generate metrics and regulatory reporting for the Surface Transportation Board and their ilk. Most of our measures were inward-facing, though, covering such things as volume, dwell, revenue, and productivity. This story involves a problematic dashboard in the last category, specifically a measure of the productivity of our unionized office workers. The managers loved it because it gave them a weekly graph of who needed corrective punishment for underperforming. Our toxic CEO of the day was all about punishment. They even had quotas to meet. It was in regards to this last one that, I'll call him B, made the short walk across to our building so that he could ask me about the metric. He'd just come from an uncomfortable meeting with his direct manager, who showed him how he was the lowest performing employee on their graph, by a wide margin. His manager told him to pick up the pace, or he'd face potential repercussions, possibly even a 1-week suspension. B came to me because he knew I had access to the back end of the metrics, and he wanted to know what they were measuring him on because he was never not busy. Some important background on B is that he was a very senior, conscientious employee. He had as much experience as the rest of his group combined, and he came to me because we went back about 20 years from my time in the union before I moved to IT. The job of their group was to work the queue, that is, go into the failure queue of events that had cacked for one reason or another, resolve the issue, and allow the automated functions to flow properly. A couple of trivial examples would be a train lift failing because the cars had not been properly reported into the customer's track, or, conversely, they'd been reported in, but the customer had not electronically released them out yet. Because he had so much experience, B took it upon himself to hand-pick the really messy, time-consuming ones from the queue, ones where somebody had backdated events, and it took some faffing about to figure out what was wrong and what needed to be fixed, or where a conductor took all the paperwork home and forgot to update this tablet with the switching that he'd done. Basically, if it was something that might require phone calls and deep research, he would deal with it rather than let inexperienced folks struggle with it. I pulled up a pre-production version of the dashboard and scrolled through the source code to find the important bits. We discovered that it was looking for clusters of specific event types reported under an employee's user ID with at least a 2-minute gap between the clusters. He was puzzled over the last requirement, but I explained that it was so that a single train being processed would only count as one event. It might take a few minutes to fix the train, but the reporting was at the car level, and as long as no more than 2 minutes elapsed between the report on one car and the next, it would all count as a single incident to the dashboard. So it doesn't look at how many records you handle, only that they happen more than 2 minutes apart? He paused for a moment before adding, "That's really dumb. They don't care about complexity. They're seriously just counting how many times a person clicks OK? Somebody could game that pretty easily if they wanted." He walked away without saying anything else, but I could see the mental gears turning. He came back to me a couple of weeks later to give me the good news. He'd gone from being the most underperforming person in his group to being their top employee by just as big a margin. "It's great," he told me. "Forget all the complicated shit. I'm just grabbing the biggest trains from the queue. I work one screen of cars, then sit back and drink my coffee for exactly 3 minutes before I process the next. I finally have time to complete the crossword puzzle in my paper." Sadly, the company attributed his miraculous turnaround to their draconian discipline practices, and never clued in that while their numbers went up, their actual productivity had tanked a bit. The only real consequence to him was that his job became a lot easier, and he got to slide into retirement on a high note. Not sure if this is the right place. IDK if this is the right place to be posting this, but IDK what I'm doing wrong. I am having a hard time getting along my family, specifically my mother and father, and every day is something new where I just want to get away and disappear. IF22 am a nursing student who currently lives at home, and I find it that I have really stressful days when my parents are home from work, especially my mom since she tries to spend more time me, and today is one of those days. I usually have issues with her BC. She either complains to me about her and my dad's relationship and marriage, or even my brother and my sister-in-law, they live with us, or she'll start nagging, I guess, about what I should do while my life. She'll even tell me how she's depressed and tired and blah blah blah. She works so hard and is tired all the time. I get that she doesn't really have anyone else to talk to, but I fear that I'm falling into depression because of this and I have no one to bring it up to. If I bring it up to her, she'll be like, "What do you have to be depressed about?" and starts blaming me and my family for her feelings and whatnot. Anyways, what made me want to post here was specifically today. I came home from my nursing simulation, and I decided to sit down in the dining room and eat a snack, and she decided to join me, and we somehow got into the conversation about when I graduate and how much money I'm going to be making the first year of nursing school. And she was like, "I expect you to make $250K the first year." And I told her I don't want to do 80-hour work weeks just to make a huge sum of money the first year BC that's going to cause me to get burnt out. And she was like, "What do you mean burnt out? You're young." And I was like, "Well, look at you. You are burnt out." And she was like, "No, I'm not." And I ended up saying that I don't think she understands what burnt out means. And I told her that she is burnt out considering she is exhausted coming home from work and is exhausted on her days off and then repeats that cycle. That she doesn't do anything on her days off because she's so tired or complains that she's exhausted from doing a simple task. I regret the way I said things, BC. I didn't mean it in a way that I'm calling her lazy BC. She's not, but I think that's how she took it. And then she proceeded to tell me that I ruined her day off and that I can never have a conversation while you out arguing or having an attitude. I feel so guilty every time I get overly angry, BC. I don't mean to, but for lack of a better term, I feel like she's rage baiting me every day. I get so frustrated and I get defensive and snap. And now I'm here crying BC of this and IDK if I should go and apologize. Part of me wants to apologize, but another part of me is tired for always feeling that way considering she never apologizes to me or expects too much from me. She always expects me to help her applying to new jobs, creating her resumes, going shopping her, hanging out with her, cleaning the house with her, just spending time in general. I don't even have my own friends except my boyfriend, which I don't want to burden him all these complaints all the time. I want to move out as soon as I can afford to. But then I'm worried that it's going to make our relationship worse. BC, she is going to see it as if I'm abandoning her. Not only that, but in my culture it's seen as taboo to move out being married. I haven't been the best child by any means, but I'm getting tired. IDK if I'm allowed to seek advice here, but I feel like I could use it. And I'm sorry that if this is the wrong place to post this. My EM tries to backseat my job interviews. Anyone else dealt with this? I'm trying to become a teacher, and my mother has desperately tried backseating the process, despite never spending a day in a classroom. She has been told my cousin, who has taught for 20 years, to sit down. Despite everything, I've been able to get offers. What I don't like is her trying to pick what works for me and what has good benefits. I don't mind having input, but I don't like when I'm treated like an idiot by my own mother despite being 32 with a master's degree. Anyone else? Edit. Hey guys, thanks for the comments, but a few things. 1. I live with her and I am set to get the house down the road. 2. I do work a job already. I do want to move out, but not sure of doing that since I'm going to get the house. She just drove me around to help me get my drug test and background check done after all. 3. I should do better telling her everything, but some advice has been good. But I have been leaning on my cousin during this process. He is the actual teacher after all. 4. I ended up getting a better paying job. I also got a couple of job offers too. So despite her trying to backseat, I got a lot of offers for job, or people offering me to take the next step of the process. 5. Thanks for your feedback. I want to reply to all of the comments, but Reddit isn't letting me for some odd reason. Sabotaged the sabotage. Several years ago, I was trying to learn a new role at work. The problem was that my training solely depended on someone who really didn't want to train me. For context, she was kind of an awful person and would intentionally try to sabotage people to make herself look better. When I would try to initiate shadowing with her, she would, in a falsely friendly voice, chirp, "I don't have anything for us to work on right now, but we'll be sure to let you know when I do." However, days later, she would complete projects that she could have been using to train me. This went on for a few weeks, so I gave her a call to follow up. Clearly, this time our boss was sitting in the room with her, because then, speaking loudly and slowly to me like I was a howler monkey instead of a coworker, she says, "Now, you know I told you that any time you are free, that you need to come to my office so that I can train you. So not only am I not getting the training I'm supposed to be getting, but now she's making me look irresponsible and lazy." She had management charmed, and I was a chicken, so there was no seeking direct help from them. Instead, I decided to put matters into my own hands. The next morning I came in extra early, conveniently borrowed a chair from my boss's office so he would know what I was planning to do, and plopped it right down next to her desk and waited for her to arrive. When she came in, I gave her the biggest smile and said, "I have great news. My supervisor turned me loose and said that I was free to shadow you all day, every day for the foreseeable future. So I figured I would go ahead and be ready to go so I didn't miss a thing. Isn't that awesome?" This woman was completely horrified, then was pretty icy to me for several days after, because I not only interrupted her paid online shopping time, but also thwarted her attempts to keep me from learning anything. It has been nearly a decade since then, but it is one of the most deliciously petty things I have ever done. Was petty to an old boss. Warning, this involves deaths me dying. I work healthcare. Okay, this happened many years ago when I worked at a family-owned nursing home. My uncle was on life support following a triple or quad bypass, I can't remember. What led to him on life support was an infection they didn't catch until too late. Now my aunt wanted all her family there and called me at work to come to the hospital that was 2 HRS away from me and say goodbye. So I go to my boss and tell her what is going on, and her reply to me was, "It's just an uncle." Welp, I ended up getting fired for not wanting to commit fraud for her and got a job at the local hospital a few years later. A few years into working at the local hospital, her uncle is dying from old age, and she is outside the door of his room. I look at her and pat her shoulder and say, "It's just an uncle," and I walk off and go do my charting as I was the aide taking care of him. For the past few months, I've been taking a 2-hour nap at work almost every day. This not a work-at-home situation, so I'm not setting my comm channels to "in a meeting" and hoping into bed. I essentially have no supervision. I'm on a special project that has a manager for the project, but we are still under our regular first-line manager. The project's purpose affects my first-liner's metrics. As long as I head off a few headaches and keep wasted asset allocation under control, I stay on the project. I can usually clear through my daily assignment by 10 a.m. From 10 to about noon, I'm sleeping. I then take a second and third pass after that. By 330, I'm done. Some days I'll even work ahead another day, or I'll assist one of the other project team members load. We are each assigned a specific sector, and some have a backup to cover days off, while others don't. My assignment is smaller than others. We each have our own system. Some of the others don't like it if you mess with theirs. The pool for extra work is often limited, so I'm not screwing anyone. I'm doing such a good job. The cries that I be replaced by someone who thinks they deserve it. BC, they have a higher seniority, are being ignored. Even on the days I make a significant contribution, I still find time for a nap. Sometimes it's just an hour. We started working off a new process that requires no interaction from the manager of the special project to generate our work. The old system, he had to open it to our view from our various access terminals, and that included conference calls on Teams a few days a week. He hasn't checked in on us once in at least 2 months. He still manages his main team at the same time as us. No headaches for him, and he gets hang already being the manager of a special project to hang on his door. He gets to avoid the other additional assignments. I'm the only who works mobile off a laptop. The rest of our members are office-bound. I find a hitting spot and zonk out. Sometimes it's on rarely used company-owned assets. I wonder if anyone can figure out what I do. I work in an absolutely unique corporate structure. Entitled parents at the supermarket demand a discount. This one happened a few weeks back. Moral of the story is some people need to read the labels better. For reference (equal sign) entitled mum, (ed) entitled dad, S1 son 1. Those entitled parents had two sons, S2 son 2, me me boss my amazing boss, Nigel. It started in the morning. I was at the till and this happened. Edie, these 6 please me. Of course, that will be £5.78 please. Excuse me, but I did the maths. It's buy 2, get 1 free, so it's £4 exactly. Me, sorry, it's only the cheapest that is free. So you have 4 £1 meals and 2 £1.89 meals. That means you get 2 £1 meals free, not the £1.89 ones. S1, hurry up, I'm hungry. S2, make him go faster. Ed, listen here, make it go faster or we're going to have some issues. Dad's name, calm down. Nigel enters as swift as a tiger and as intelligent as an owl boss. What's going on here? Me. They don't understand the prices for the deals, Ed. Look, just give it to us this time. £4, not £5.78 me. I can't do that. Boss. Asterisk, steely Nigel. Glare asterisk. He can't. Pay the correct price or go back and swap the items until you're happy. The family grumbled, but did actually pay and leave. The mum even said thanks. Petty, entitled, but at least they paid. Working at a supermarket can be exhausting. I have always struggled to tell the truth. I am a 28F who has always struggled to be truthful. I have a partner 30M who is the total opposite and has caught me out in a many lies over the years, which has obviously caused him a lot of upset. However, we have talked this through and he forgives me and understands that complex childhood experiences have led me to be this way. Although he has forgiven me, I know I have caused really deep pain in this man, so much that it's affected his mental well-being. Looking back, I've actually taken advantage of how much he loves me, because I have always known deep down he will forgive me, hence why I have still lied. Not about major things, never infidelity, but stupid little lies. It's like I have a compulsion to say anything but the truth, like the truth is difficult. I deeply want to change this aspect about myself, for him, our relationship, and myself. I scare myself at how much of a good liar I am, and how it can just be so off the tongue to lie. With work done over the years, it still requires effort to repress the urge to lie before naturally telling the truth. I am actually very envious of people who have the ability to just be honest. I really hate this quality about myself and deeply want to change. Does anyone have any advice or experience something similar? If this post disgusts you and you hate what I've said because I'm a liar, then please share your thoughts and comments too, because I feel I need to hear things raw. I'm not out for pity or people being sympathetic and soft with me. I just need to hear it all raw. If anyone has any spiritual or religious takes on this that can give me perspective or teach me something, I'd be very grateful. Thanks. Most people I know always notice that there is something off about me, and I want to get this off my chest. 1. I was hanging out with my friends, and one of them randomly said, "Everything you do scares me. What are you hiding?" He tried saying it in a joking way, but I could tell that he was suspicious. 2. Another time, when I was hanging out with my friends, we were all walking heading to McDonald's, and I was distracted, and I was looking ahead. One of my other friends looked at me, and he was obviously creeped out. He said, "You look I," and something else that I couldn't remember. 3. I was playing Minecraft with my cousin and he randomly asked me, "Are you a sociopath?" I don't think I'm a sociopath at all. I'm too emotional to be one. 4. I was talking to one of my uncle's friends and he said, "Does everyone else fall for your bullshit too?" 5. I was talking to my mom and she said that she thinks that my favorite color is blue. I said it was yellow, and she said, "Only people who are crazy or really smart like the color yellow." 6. My cousin's phycologist kept looking at me with suspicion. I thought it was a coincidence, but he never took his eyes off me. 7. The phycologist at my old school looks at me with the same suspicion. I just want to know if anyone else relates or any advice on how to better hide myself if there is something off about me. I'd like to know what it is. Update on, of course, I'll move offices again. Well, I'm back to give you all an update. Brief summary. My boss made me move offices 3 times in a week. The final move resulted in me not having access to a phone line. Here's a link. The original post is below. Now, to the fallout. After I moved my office for the final time, I began rage applying to jobs. I happened to find one that is almost exactly what I was doing with a competitor, and I applied and within 24 hours had an interview, and a week and a half later, I secured an offer letter with a $15K raise walking in the door. Woo me! I gave my company notice, and the CEO, the jackass that pulled the office power trip, decided to terminate my employment immediately. So now there is no one in the company that has any idea how to do what I did, and no one to train anyone they bring in. I talked to my new employer and moved my start date up a week. I'm out of a toxic environment, and the company I worked for shot themselves in the foot. Karma is a thing, man. Original post. Update 1. I thought about it and emailed the appropriate muckety-mucks so they couldn't jam me up for not doing my job and not telling them what was up. I have a whoopsie email chain now. The earliest the issue will be fixed is Wednesday. And my counterpart in a different office starts vacation tomorrow, so I'm not sure who will get stuck with the phones. Original post. I thought I would share my in-progress malicious compliance at work. A little backstory. My office is an old residential building converted to a flex space, so the interior layout is quirky at best. When I started, my office was in the space that used to be a closet. To say I had very little workspace is an understatement. Fast forward to last week. Remodeling has been done and staff moved around, and I have been told I will have a legit office now. Awesome, right? Wrong. The decision comes down today, no office for me, after I had already moved into said office. I have to swap with a coworker that has an open design workspaces. Said coworker does not want an office. We are told it doesn't matter what we want, we have to change. Now cue the malicious compliance. I move desks, but I don't have an office phone. Well, I do, but it goes to nothing. There is no phone line jack, etc. anywhere near the part of the building I am now located. Did I mention that a not insignificant part of my job is answering the phone, and if I don't, the phone starts ringing to all the company extensions. So now we are playing a game called How Long Before the People That Are Smarter Than Me Figure Out They Made a Big Mistake. Need to vent a little about my loneliness. Hi, I don't know if this considered normal or I can say it's a confession, but I can't have a relationship with a girl. I tried online apps, but either I don't get matches or I get ghosted later. And in real life, I can't approach girls because when I try, a lot of ideas hit me so hard. 1. I need to have a stable job so I can provide to my woman. 2. Fear of being rejected. 3. Fear of intimidating the girl and make her feel uncomfortable if me as a stranger just come from nowhere and talk to her. I live in a paradox. I need a woman in my life because I want to give love and have someone I can share my life and be everything to me. But at the same time, I don't have enough resources to marry and provide for her. That loneliness I live because beside work, I don't have anyone to talk with. I use all my naughty's energy at masturbating and trying to forget that feeling, but I doesn't. It gets stronger. Writing all of this made me feel better. Wish I can hear from you guys. Thanks. Former boss disputed work history 6 months after I left, so I blew up his phone with spam. Few years ago, I was working at a corporate job and had a very significant unaliving in the family, my grandfather, that I needed to take time off to go handle. I needed to help with the estate and honestly, just grieve. We were very close. I asked my manager to use emergency PTO and it was denied. I asked to go on FMLA instead and it was also denied, saying that grandparents didn't qualify. I told him I wouldn't be able to come in for at least a couple of weeks while I flew down to Florida to attend the funeral and help with the estate. They told me if I did that, I would be terminated. So they terminated me and even had the gall to offer me 2 weeks of severance in exchange for signing an NDA, a gag order, and an indemnity clause, which means I wouldn't be able to sue them. I wouldn't be able to talk smack about them to others or online. You get the idea. Of course, I refused. That conversation took place on August 1st. On my LinkedIn profile, I listed that I worked there from my start date to the beginning of August. The company dated my termination for the 31st of July. They said they had to do with benefits or something. Fast forward to January. I was up early with my 6-week-old newborn. I got a LinkedIn notification that my former manager viewed my profile. Few minutes later, I got an email from LinkedIn that my employment at that company was being disputed. He disputed the difference between the 31st of July and the 1st of August. LinkedIn ignored my dispute of the report and removed the company experience from my profile entirely. Not to mention that when I did repost the experience, it would no longer be verified by LinkedIn because I would have to verify through a company email address, which I no longer had. The absolute gall of this guy. And seriously? You're thinking about me 6, almost 7 months later? So I found his home address online. I had his personal cell phone number in my phone, and I also found his personal and work email address. I signed him up for as much spam as I possibly could find. Not just that, I went to every moving company and real estate agency in the area, asking to be put in contact with an agent saying that I was looking for a house for $800,000 and moving companies to give quotes for a cross-country move. I gave those websites every contact information I had for him, something that would really excite anyone getting that kind of sales lead. A former co-worker in the same department told me that his phone was blowing up for days, both his work and personal cell. His role was client-facing, so he couldn't just ignore phone calls. I don't know if he ever figured out that it was me who did that, but those calls would have started pouring in within an hour of his report to LinkedIn. Screw that guy. The lowest years of my life was 27, 28, but some remarkable things happened before my eyes. I met my whore, and then my wife. The lost point of the first half of my life was at 27. I was emotional and spiritually broken, but I persisted with some school program, even though I preferred not. At the practicum, I met a Kelly. She was an international master's student, also doing a practicum. We made herself available to me after a week. I invited her to watch a movie, but she had other ideas. She hates her dad. We used each other for a naughties relationship, expressing our disdain for life by naughties, alcohol, and drugs. We hated each and fucked each other up. I later found out she had a fiancé, and then another boyfriend, and also app encounters on the side. She was going through a phase. I was one among many, I learned. After the practicum, I went abroad for work, earning not great money and not great experience. But I could do my digital hustle at the point. There, I would meet the person who would become my wife. I was her first big attraction to a person. We got to know each other well through long walks after work. I left and we didn't keep in touch until she reached out to me years later. I was, again, at a low point in my life, but a comfortable one. She texted me from a foreign number, so I didn't pick up. I FaceTimed back and it was her. We got in touch in Southeast Asia and I asked her to marry me. It was like we found the safe, comfortable person in the world that we were looking for the whole time being. Married in the Middle East, living in Northern America. Wife is committed and whore is willing. Is it normal? My dad slaps my bum? Hello? I'd like to know if this is normal or weird or if I'm being dramatic. I am a 22-year-old woman. My dad has slapped my bum since I was a child. He'd do it as a punishment when I was a kid, and now he does it casually for fun. The thing is, he's not stopped doing it even now that I am an adult. I'll be honest, I can't tell if it's weird or not. I don't know if he's just doing it to be affectionate/silly, but I don't like it. TBF, I do still live with my family, and everyone does still treat me like I'm 14. He'll do it sometimes if I walk past him. He does it mostly when I'm walking up the stairs in front of him, so I've always tried to quickly run up the stairs before he can touch me because it makes me uncomfortable. I will say that I have 2 brothers similar in age to me, and he does not do this to them. I feel too awkward to tell him I don't like it. I know that sounds lame, but he can be pretty intimidating. I do love him and respect him, but if I'm being completely honest, I feel a little awkward around him. Also, recently, a few times he's yanked my hair from behind, like pulled it back and tugged on it. I feel bad for even questioning this, and I would like some brutal honesty and objectivity, please, because maybe I am in the wrong for even thinking this. But is it weird? Or is this normal? No trees, = more trees. Okay, so this happened a couple years ago, and I'm praying this person doesn't find this post. IDK how much they're on Reddit or this sub. Anyway, so let's go back to the summer of 23. I was into Minecraft at the time, still am actually, and had joined a realm with a bunch of friends, including someone who I considered my best friend at the time. My BSF and I settle on top of a cherry blossom mountain with me on a flat area and them in a divot. I chopping trees and replanting them, building my house, making the area prettier, etc. One thing to note about cherry blossom trees is that they drop about 50 million saplings from one tree. I also planted a couple other things around my house, like spruce saplings and I believe bamboo, just things that would be easily accessible to farm. Well, I hopped off and then logged on a day or two later. My BSF was also on and told me that they moved the spruce trees that I had planted because they clashed with the cherry blossom trees. So now, you had to go halfway down the mountain to get spruce wood. Well, that annoyed me because I hate people touching and moving my stuff without permission. I didn't argue, though. I just said okay and moved on about my business. That didn't last too long. After a couple minutes, I decided to be petty. For anyone who doesn't know, if you plant spruce saplings in a 2x2 square, they grow into a massive tree and change the blocks surrounding it into a different type of dirt, essentially. I collected a few spruce saplings, planted them, bone mealed them to speed up the growing, and logged off. Unfortunately, that was the straw that broke the camel's back for my friend. Apparently, I've made many mistakes in our friendship that weren't communicated to me, but that's a different story. And we've since stopped being friends, but gosh, that little act of pettiness made me so happy in the moment. Meet the new boss. Had a coworker who was a total penoid. Everyone in the office, and I mean everyone, couldn't stand him. Let's call him Dick. Our company, about 50 employees, was sold, and when it was announced, there was also a printed announcement distributed, informed us that the new owner would be hosting an evening event at a local restaurant, so he could meet us, and we could meet him. The coworker who produced the announcement, using some sort of graphics program, emailed the file to the woman who did our in-house printing and copying. Her job was to print it out and place it in everyone's mailbox. However, she was sent the raw data file, not a PDF, and had to open it in the graphics application in order to print it. This allowed her to edit it. She printed out copies but made and printed a special announcement for Dick. The one that everyone else received specified that it was a dress-up affair, meaning ties and jackets for the men. The one that Dick pulled from his mailbox said to come dressed casually and wear a company logo t-shirt. She also changed the start time, on his sheet only, to an hour later than it was supposed to start. Since people refused to interact with him, he never saw the official announcement, only the one that was placed in his mailbox. My role in this was to make sure that Dick's modified invite was removed from his desk and destroyed. At the restaurant, dinner had been served. Most suit jackets were draped over chairs, and we were all eating when Dick walked in wearing shorts, a company logo t-shirt, and Crocs. He was given a name tag, we all had one with our name and job title, and shown to his seat. The new boss noticed, and when he was making the rounds after the meal, ignored Dick. 3 people were laid off in the next few weeks, a normal thing when a company changes hands, and Dick was one of them. Ruined my life, a story of the destruction of oneself. This is a long one. Son of a part-time NHL player in the 80s. My father loved coke, gambling, and beating me, ages 4, 10, including hospital visits, and multiple broken bones multiple times. Dad owed the mafia $300K and ran off, age 10. Family lost everything. We ended up losing our house and family restaurant. Moved in with an aunt. My mother had high school diploma. She is now high-powered Wall Street later. She went back to school at age 38. I had moved out once everything came to fruition. My teens, I spent working and giving money to mom, but also a decent student, but was captain of baseball and football teams in Brooklyn, NY. I worked in a catering hall, and I dealt ecstasy and weed, never arrested, some close calls but never happened. Developed a nice habit from my father, cocaine. Started cigarettes, age 10, weed 12, cocaine 14, heroin 16, I'm clean of all of those. On the final play of my football career, as a football scholarship lingered for Boston College, I was hit and ruptured multiple discs and broke parts of my back. They informed me I would never play and possibly walk again. I ended up walking a year after surgery but would need another surgery later on. It was post-surgery when they said I might not walk again. I attempted to unalive myself by blowing air into my oxygen tube. My nurse saved my life. After my rehab, I continued to abuse pills. It was time for drug rehab. I was there for 13 months. Here I taught people, ages 15, 27, how to read, and I ended up pursuing education. I am a teacher now. The first love of my life was Jane, treated me like gold, and cheated on her with another woman 20+ times. I was 22, the woman I cheated with was 39, I was a sucker for tattoos, etc. She accepted me back and I cheated on her again, but this time it was her best friend, who took advantage of me when I was drunk. We broke up, and she is now happily married with 2 kids. I then met another woman, Tracy. We were happily married for maybe 8 of 14 years. We had 2 amazing children. I resented her for fighting with my family. I finally went back TK my family after my grandmother was diagnosed with non-curable pancreatic cancer. I didn't talk to my family for 3 years. I resented Tracy for it. I worked 3 other jobs for Tracy to stay at home and be a mom. I missed out on our 2 kids growing up, my life's greatest regret. She talked down to me like I was a piece of trash. It got to a point. I tried to unalive myself again. This time was 15 Xanax sticks and half a bottle of Grey Goose. I was found unresponsive by my ex-wife. I needed my stomach pumped. I barely survived. When I woke up 6 days later, I just cried, etc. I said I need out of here. I cheated on my then wife with 4 different people. I divorced my wife. I gave her the house, and paying $3,500 a month in child support, she is taking me back to court now to get more money. I left my wife for my affair partner, a co-worker. We will call her Jen. We cared and loved each other amazingly. The first year was everything I ever wanted. She was my match, and more. 0.16 months in, she was diagnosed with stage 4 colorectal cancer at the age of 41. Devastated and heartbroken, I stuck around. Nobody helped her, and neither did her parents. It was me with her bedside for 3 months. I ran her to all of her appointments, but then was starting to be used like an Uber for the family and more, being dragged and guilted when I was with my kids. During her next hospital stay, her friend, we will call her Kate — Kate is married — seduced me, and being the weak piece shit I am, I jumped and screwed her brains out. Jen never found out. Casual flirting continued with Kate even as Jen began to come back around. Eventually, I was with Kate and Jen. Jen and I were fading, broke up while we were in Mexico, but slept together 3x in Mexico. I had no feeling during naughties, and said, yeah, this was a mistake. I left Jen for good. When I got back, I broke things up with Jen, and was now with Kate. Things with Kate are very, very different. She can read me and understands me, and I feel a genuine connection. Well, I screwed up again, and got drunk and met up with Jen. I fucked her 4 times over 12 hours, thanks Blue Chew. I was angry with Kate over icing me out for no reason. I denied to Kate, but I felt real guilt for the first time in my life, and it all came out. Kate is upset with me and said we are done, not because of the cheating, but the lying. It was the wake-up call that I can't be a piece of shit anymore. I started therapy 3x a week. I've come to be aware I'm a narcissist, a naughties addict, and I have abandonment issues. I have tossed a grenade at everyone who has ever loved me and have to be a better model to my children. Never learned how to properly be a man due to not having a positive male role model to show me how to be a fucking man. Stop ruining other people's lives. Therapy has helped. I am putting the same mentality to work. I have cried more than I have and have been making amends to people and living my truth. Have I ruined my life? Will I ever find love again? Am I an asshole? What is wrong with me? Is Kate the answer? My mom has a fit about a career opportunity for me. I'll get this out of the way now. I, 27M, love my mom for what she's done for me my whole life. But for the past year, I've been attending trade school for a job in the electrical field, and I've applied to join a program to become a food industry technician. This issue stems from the fact that this program will take place in the state of Indiana, and I would prefer driving there. It's an 11-hour drive, give or take, but I think it's better than leaving my car to be moved every week when I'm not there. Our house lacks a garage and cars get ticketed on street cleaning days. I would be there for about 3 months for training and then get contracted to whatever company hires me, which may involve me having to work in any state that they're located in for at least 18 months. Here's where the problem comes in. My mom has been giving me grief about my choice to go into this program. She often says things like, "Your car isn't good enough to get there," despite my car being perfectly fine. It was involved in a hit and run, but functions just fine, and gas money shouldn't be much of an issue. You won't know anyone there. These companies will scam you with contracts. You need to stay close to your family. I could go into how this has basically been her MO for a lot of things growing up, and she's definitely tried to gaslight me about many things in the past, and even now. I've lived a large portion of my life trying to please her and get her validation, despite a lot of harsh treatment over the years. Even after this, I do still love and care about her, but I've also made it clear to her that I want to leave our house and our home state as a whole. I still intend on going out to Indiana and finding a well-paying career in the field that I chose. I'll still have that sense of apprehension and anxiety doing it, since I've never been there, and I've been that type of person for as long as I can remember, probably because she raised me by herself. But I just need some time away from her. Am I wrong for feeling this way?